We start with our objective: to provide useful information to the users of financial statements. The users of financial statements are actual and potential investors and lenders, and they require information about financial position and financial performance to help them in their decision making. Secondly, what is useful information? It is information which is relevant and which faithfully represents the underlying economic reality. These are the qualitative characteristics of relevance and faithful representation. Thirdly, we construct financial statements from elements: assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. We use the agreed upon definition of these elements to help determine whether and how an event is reported in the financial statements. To account for any event, to use the elements of assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses to report an event in financial statements, we use a structured approach. Modern financial reporting standards are framework-based and follow this approach. Firstly, identify whether something meets the definition of one of the elements. Start with assets and liabilities because they are the two elements which are defined directly. The other elements are defined relative to assets and liabilities. Is there something which meets the definition of an asset or a liability? If so, we classify it, for example, as a financial asset or an intangible asset. We then refer to the individual standard to see if the asset or liability meets the recognition criteria. Not every asset and liability will be recognized. They will only be recognized if doing so would better meet the objective of providing high-quality information to users. If there are elements recognized, we then decide how to measure them, again referring to the individual standard for guidance. Presentation, our next step, is to decide how to present the information in financial statements. Different information is shown in different statements. Assets and liabilities are shown in the statement of financial position and presented in particular categories, for example, current versus non-current, and may be presented in a particular order, usually from least liquid to most liquid. Income and expenses are presented in the statement of financial performance, the Spelocchi. Finally, we may need to disclose additional information about the nature of transactions or about events which have not been directly reported in the primary financial statements. We do this in order to meet our overall objective of providing the information we think users will need.